A reading from my book, Waveform Politics 2, People's Border Spirit. I published this essay on August 3rd, 12:24 p.m., 2002. Yet it reminds me of Albert Camus' character in The Fall, whom would describe his effort to change his public appearance, said that he would visit Paris coffee cafes inhabited by intellectuals whom were atheists, and in the midst of the conversation say something like, "My God," or similar, and the place would grow silent. People would, shocked, sort of slink out of the place in disbelief at the mention of that name. Adolf Hitler built some excellent neo-temples from designs building of the Roman classical style in the 1930s in the effort to fortify the morale of the Third Reich in their destiny and history. Saddam and Adolf were each future Führers with varying degrees of success, albeit briefly. The pan-Arabic civilization efforts under Saddam is somewhat like unto the pan-Germanic civilization envisioned by A.H. Since World War I and the end of the Turkic Ottoman rule of the Middle East, that region has been in turmoil frequently. During the First World War, a British archaeologist named Sir Woolley, whom was a military officer, discovered and excavated the lost ziggurat of Nimrod at Ur. The British eventually gave independence to Iraq after ruling it themselves a few years. Saddam Hussein, in a sort of Maoist struggle combined with Caponian methodology, has sought to elevate poor, tired, and ignorant Iraqis into a modern and powerful society founded spiritually upon the memories of their glorious past, a very ancient past. The Ba'athist political philosophy of Aflaq was a guiding racial principle that helped to delete political rivals in the pre-Saddam era. War is, of course, an evil activity that should be avoided by right-thinking people who are reasonable and honorable to do so, especially if they have a concern about their immortal spirit's relationship with God. Yet if some good reason exists for the United States to spend billions and billions of dollars on cruise missiles, personnel, etc. in an Iraq conflict, is an exit strategy that comprises at least a decade and 50,000 American military peace transition guards based on reasonable objectives. Do opponents of war that have any basis in real politic analysis have a sufficient awareness of the Iraqi regional geopolitical status to permit an extrapolation of likely emerging political trends in the absence of an American intervention to remove Mr. Hussein from power? Saddam launched prototype weapons of mass destruction on Israel in the Gulf War Round 1. Most of the Israeli casualties died of heart attacks, according to an article in the July-August Foreign Affairs on page 6. That would be 2002. In Palestine, most civilians support terrorism and suicide bombings upon Israel, something like 90%. The Foreign Affairs article speculates that the Palestinian H-bomb human equivalents can get under the Israeli military indefinitely, and that Yasser Arafat Martyrs Brigade innovated female bombers in competition with Hamas for the support of the Palestinian people. Saddam Hussein, however, has gained support from his people through a KGB Nazi-style policy of domestic terror on his people. Their subject to psychological stasis is entirely pervaded and conditioned by terror of Saddam and his federal henchmen. Saddam, like Fidel, cannot quit his job because of the probability of revenge. Saddam, like Fidel, cannot understand that a swift liberalization of economic and social liberties in his nation would immeasurably improve his nation's welfare. If America rebuilds Iraq after a war, imagine the savings if it did so before, with absolute liberalization from the Ba'athi Party right away, complete inspections, business freedom, etc.